it's time to discuss today's top news stories with Nick Ferrari and Steph McGovern. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning. We're starting with some terrible breaking news. An Air India plane bound for London Gatwick has crashed shortly after takeoff in India, and it really hadn't got very far at all.
It hadn't. So this is flight AI-171 from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, due to get to London Gatwick at 18:25 or 6:25. 232 passengers, 12 crew on board. The plane was only up for seconds. It reached height of about 620 feet or 180 metres. It is believed, I repeat, it is believed there are 52 Britons on board. I stress it is just believed at that moment. All we're getting from Air India...
confirmed that, Nick.
That has been confirmed. 53 Britons on board. OK. And the Air India confirming that the flight crashed and it's now awaiting full investigation. Look, let's not speculate. There will be people watching now, but there has been some video released. You're seeing some still photographs now. You see there's some video there. That is not what the way you want an aircraft to descend. So thoughts with everyone. Our thoughts go to everyone involved. We'll talk about what's on the front pages today in a moment. That will be on your front pages tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be more on ITV as it develops.
Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned to the ITV news channels and we'll keep you updated as we hear more. Right, let's talk about what everybody was keen to hear from this morning. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has set out the government's spending plans up until 2029, an extra £29 billion a year invested into the NHS. Before we ask Nick and Steph for their thoughts, she was interviewed this morning on Good Morning Britain. This is what she had to say to Susanna and Richard.
All of the spending plans I announced yesterday were funded through what I did in the budget last year. I'm not spending a penny more or a penny less. We made a commitment in our manifesto not to increase the key taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT. And that's something that I've stuck to and I will continue to stick to. It was a manifesto commitment and it remains for the whole of this Parliament.
You spoke to her this morning, Nick.
I did.
How was she?
Upbeat. She had a good write-up in the Financial Times, and that's often a paper you have to turn to, but defensive about the idea, and I'm sure, Steph is the financial guru here. It's all very well what she's saying. The key is whether she's going to have to move taxes up in the autumn. So we all know that this is everything and we get that. And those are the concerns. She has been called the Klarna Chancellor, as in buy now, pay later, because there's a lot of investment, whether you're trams... And these are all great ideas. We want trams, we want railway lines, we need more prison places. It's how we pay for them, and she was decidedly cagey. So you look at the initial city reaction, pretty positive, but there is concern, because we love investment, we love infrastructure, it gives people jobs, it might provide growth, but we've got the credit card on max, how are we going to pay?
It does have to be paid for, sir.
Yeah, it does. And I think the problem now is we're going to get more uncertainty because people will be speculating about whether taxes are going to go up in autumn. And what business in particular hates is that uncertainty. You know, people change behaviour based on what they think might happen. And that's really not healthy for the economy. And if you look at other figures we've had out this week, today we found out the economy's slowed and it's slowed more than expected. That's not good. It means we're doing less, making less, making less money than we were. And also you've got the employment figures weren't great because, you heard the Chancellor mention there about having to put up taxes last autumn. A big, chunk of that 40 billion increase in taxes was hit by businesses. So businesses paying more for national insurance contributions. So that's starting to hit the employment figures now. So, yes, it all needs to be paid for, but the danger is in that process of putting this money in for future trams, for future connectivity and infrastructure that we need, what happens in the meantime? People feel worse off and people are concerned about what's going to happen next, and that is just not good for the economy.
But as you said, Nick, to get a good or positive write-up from the Financial Times is sort of a vote of confidence within the sort of the press that studies these things very closely.
Absolutely right, and that's why every time there's a spending review or a budget, the first paper I turn to is the Financial Times, because I don't have Steph by my side. If I had to know,
I could be there if you want.
And it is, I mean, they do say exactly what Steph just said. It is good, and we want this, but she is sort of tying herself to growth. The other indicator that we need to talk about is payroll. That's down. What does that mean? Well, so that's 10 of the last 11 months payroll is going down. What does that mean? We're employing fewer people, unemployment is going up, inflation is going up, and the number of jobs are coming down. It's a fairly toxic mix.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, it's a kind of cancer in business, isn't it, that uncertainty? And so there will be businesses who'll hold back from making decisions on things. They might be looking at how many people they employ and possibly reducing that, because they've got to think about how much money they can make. And if inflation is still a problem, and it is, this is how much the cost of living's going up by, then it puts a lot of pressure on people and people don't feel better off, and that really impacts you know, how you feel in life and whether you
the
feel like
housing market, where you live, your homes.
But for your viewers, look, more money going into the health service.
Yep.
The health service budget now is the equivalent of the GDP of Portugal. That's how much is going in. More money into defence, although there's arguments about much. More money. Queries about police officers. There's concerns there's not enough money for police, but schools are getting cash, NHS are getting trashed, defence is getting cash. So there's a lot for your viewers to be positive on.
OK, well, let's see how it all works.
Stick with the positives till we work out how she's going to pay for it.
See where she finds the money from.
Come back in the autumn.
Yes. OK, let's talk about the North and South divide. Is the North-South divide a thing of the past? Steph, you are a proud Northerner.
I am, yeah. So this is this research, isn't it? It's based on a survey. So this is people being asked, and I question who's been asked in this.
Right.
But 3/4 of the people are saying they think that this divide is irrelevant. It is not irrelevant. I just want to start by saying the North is better than the South. You know,
Thanks for sitting on the fence, Steph.
As a proud Northerner who lives in the North, you know, I live up in Newcastle, and there is a divide. And you know, I'm not... For a start, Northerners are funnier. Northerners have, you know, got more resilience because we have to. But, no, they're
Got a lot more chat.
Yeah, we've got better banter. You know all this,
Didn't
Nick,
say it was
don't
better.
you?
I just said there's a lot more.
Without a T.
Moaning, grouchy. Sorry, do go on.
No, but if you look at things like investment, and I know we've heard from the Chancellor about more money for English regions, and that's really important. It's a long way off yet when we'll see that actually play through. There is a big difference. So one of the things that really interests me is life expectancy. I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older and I've got a sense of my own mortality, but if you look at the life expectancy of someone in the North and compare them to someone in the South who lives in the same poverty, so like for like in terms of income and everything else, someone in the North won't live as long as someone in the South in exactly the same setup. And it's about investment in public services. It's about, you know, this divide in terms of job opportunity, and all of that has a massive impact. So, yes, OK, it's jokey. As a Northerner, I'm super proud of the North, and I'm always banging on about how good it is. And, yes, I do moan about it a bit, but I think I've got a right to moan because there is a different there in terms of investment, and that plays out in how long people in the North live.
The government always said, Nick, that they were going to try and sort this out, weren't they? They were going to level up. I mean, this was the previous government, of course.
No, you're absolutely right. And Boris Johnson did very well with this idea of levelling up. He was, as he used his words, lent a lot of votes in the North, and those votes went away. There was no levelling up. I mean, I would say, and in fact, my mum was actually born in Barrow, raised in Leicester, so my mum is a Northerner, so, you know, I've got some skin in the game here.
Everyone says that, you know.
Well, not everyone's mother could be born in Barrow.
No, but they all say it. But everyone tries to link to the North. Everyone does that.
But what I would say is...
They've always got a nana from the North.
If this Southerner could get a word...
That's the thing, they chat a lot, don't they? That's what I'm saying.
When I go to great cities in the North, like Manchester, like Liverpool, normally for political conferences, there has been a lot of investment in those cities. They're unrecognisable, Steph, from where they were 15, 20 years ago, which is a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Manchester.
And I don't disagree. You know, I was part of the cohort of the BBC that moved from London to Media City and Manchester and Salford, and that's made a huge difference. The area, the regeneration there has been staggering, but there's still pockets of problem, and the connectivity between all these places is terrible.
Well, connectivity, look at this. I mean, your researchers have done this. So, travelling from Leeds to Manchester, 44 miles, 1 hour, 5 minutes. London to Brighton, 64 miles, well under an hour. I mean, this is evidence-led. Salaries, £20,000 higher in London and the outlying areas than they are in places such as Huddersfield and Middlesbrough. These are numbers you can't argue with. There is a real difference there.
But the things that Northerners love from the South, Steph, sunshine. Although yesterday, all the sunshine was up north. We didn't get any down here. Things that Southerners go crazy for from the north, chips and gravy.
Oh, come on. We've got better things than chips and gravy. We've got the most beautiful
Yorkshire
beaches.
tea, Coronation Street, the Beatles and the Lake District.
When were they interviewed? In the 70s?
They were wearing disputable knitwear, for sure.
Here's a question for you. Do you rank your friends? Steph, have you ever sit there, rank your friends, and then let somebody know where that ranking is?
So I think subconsciously we all do it. We all have our friend that we'd rather go out with on a Friday night than other friends. There's also other friends we like trust more with our kids. So I think we do subconsciously do it. I don't think we sit there and go, right, I'm putting Rachel on the B list and I'm putting, I don't know, Claire on the A list. But I think subconsciously you do it. You know who's a fun sponge, but who's a strong mate.
What makes a good friend? What's the qualities? Then I can rate them.
OK.
Yeah.
I think a good friend is just someone who's there when you need them, but also someone who brings like positivity to your life.
Ben.
Likes to drink.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's about it?
Yeah, that's it. We're the A-list.
With the Premier League.
No friends.
So Lily Allen has revealed that she does this in a very unique way. Friends she speaks to each week, she puts them on a numerical list and then decides where they are on the list, how often she speaks to them, who she FaceTimes, in which order, so who she spends the time with that she feels she's going to get the most from. I guess.
She writes a list.
She's got a list.
Oh, it gets better than that, which she then sends to my assistant, and I ask her to schedule the time for me to have a FaceTime with my friends. That's the world we all live in, isn't it?
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, do you know what? Actually, maybe that's more of that's an efficiency win, isn't it?
It totally is.
We
because-
need more productivity in the country, so maybe this is the way to do it.
Well, you get an assistant to schedule FaceTime with your
I mean, I'm not that.
Well, I'll never
No,
have to
I'm not
speak to you again,
either.
will
I
I?
know.
At that
Well,
rate?
don't talk to me. Talk to my assistant, please, Nick.
We had a friend years and years ago, a friend of mine, Rob, and his brother was having a big party, and his brother would turn around to Rob and said, right, you can bring 3 mates. And Rob very fairly turned around to all of us and said, right, here's the thing. My brother's going to have a really great party. It's going to be amazing, but I can only take 3 mates. So for the next 2 weeks, it's up to you lot to decide who's going to
Was it
come.
like arm wrestles
it's going to come.
tiddlywinks?
At the end of it, we'll make the choice, and then whoever I feel's done the most to deserve a place at the party, they're going to come
So
to
he
the party.
did that just so you'd give him gifts. And
Yeah,
come
yeah,
down
oh,
the
yeah.
pub
Oh, no, he
let's
was
take you for
he was
dinner.
shameless about it. He said you can buy the
We all know that
essentially you
game.
can buy the invite to the party. Let's all go to it. I didn't make it to the party.
Did you not? Even with the arm wrestling
I was
competition?
quite happy to watch the others in the end. It was a brilliant party, and they all talked about it for a long time to come.
Well, it's a bit like a wedding, isn't
Hang on,
it?
you two, there's one space in the wedding. I mean, whatever you want to send me, whatever
Arm
you want to
wrestle,
send me.
Shets. Me and you, an arm wrestle. Thank you, guys. We'll be chatting a bit more in a minute. Hello there, welcome back. We're discussing more of today's top headlines with Nick and Steph. And we're starting with the hottest new fashion trend for men. Now, you might want to brace yourselves because Ben has kindly agreed to model it for us. Come on out, Benjamin.
And that's just what they'll do. One of these days,
I mean,
it's a
leather, thigh-high boot, as modelled by the cover star of Men's Health. I mean, this show just keeps on giving. Hollywood star Alexander Skarsgård turned up at the Cannes Film Festival in a pair. Pedro Pascal then wore the boots at the Last of Us premiere. And now Brad Pitt has made headlines as he modelled the luxury label's statement-making 3,300 whole English pounds, thigh-high style
feel of my-
and
I
new
would, yeah.
spread for GQ's blockbuster summer.
Hey, so Nick, is this maybe for the best men?
No, I think not. £3,300, absolutely no way. I thought you were going wading. I thought you were going fishing.
They do look like, well, the Bruce, not the Bruce Willis, the
Brad Pitt.
picture looks like he's just wearing wading.
Yes. I'm surprised you could get them over your muscular thighs.
Yes,
I'm
me too.
surprised they
Yeah, me
fitted.
too. So Brad, he makes everything look cool.
I mean, everything.
does.
He makes look eating crisps at Wimbledon.
Does he make
cool.
them look cool?
Yes, he does make them look cool.
Yes,
Don't
he
you give me
does.
that. You'll vote it
I
3
think
to
he
1.
He
does.
doesn't look comfortable
Oh,
at
here we go.
all. He's like...
Here's the north of grumbling again.
He's dressed for the northern weather.
And also think of the chafing and the
Think of
sweat.
the chafing. I don't think that's his
So
worry.
I think that's the interesting thing, though, because I've just popped them on, as you do.
It was 3 hours at
They are,
backstage getting them on.
and as Ken, our photographer, said, they went on far too easily as well. But
Doesn't surprise me.
It'd be a pain trying to get them off at the end of the night.
Or
And
lots
it's going to
of
get
fun.
sweaty, isn't it?
Or keep them on.
So-
What about that?
That would be difficult.
Just them on. Is
Just
that what we're
them
talking
on.
about?
The only part of my body that's cynical is because I did so much rugby. I've got very, very strong. You can feel it.
Can I feel your
Yeah, go on.
muscular calves?
Is it calves?
Feel that.
Gordon Bennett is
Yeah, they
not
really.
wrong.
So I don't think I'd ever get them off.
He's not wrong.
I know it's all the rugby I did as a
You
kid.
get
I'd never get the damn things
stuck
off.
over your
I
calves.
don't
I'd
actually
go to
want to
bed.
see you try and take one off, though, because I think that is going to be... Can you actually...
Oh, this is it.
Yeah,
No,
no,
this is what
Let's
television.
should I pull them
No,
on?
no,
I
this
think
is-
we should.
yeah,
Shall I-
you
let me
give it-
do a
This
leg.
is what
You
TV
take
was
a
invented
leg.
for.
It's like the enormous turnip.
Oh, man.
Let's hope you're not got a hole in you.
There you go.
Ah! You see, that is too much hard work.
Well, I
They
don't
smell Eau de Shepherd.
careful. My wiki feet
Wow,
page
they
is going to
smell
go up.
amazing.
Yeah.
Are these the actual expensive pair?
I'm not sure
ladies
they're
and
the
gentlemen?
expensive pair. I
Trying to
don't-
feel.
Oh,
Steph, what are the sort of the concessions you've made to fashion that aren't necessarily the most comfortable things?
It's just heels, isn't it?
It is heels.
Women
Yes,
just, you know,
that's
you've
a good
really...
pair you've got.
Thank you, but you know what? I can only last about half an hour in them these days.
Yeah.
And, I always used to judge people back in the day if they changed from a trainer to a heel and then back to a trainer. I'd be like, I'll be never one of those women. And I totally am. I'm desperately thinking about when I can put my slippers on. And I thought, you're like, you know, if I'd have come on set in me trainers or me slippers, you'd be like, people are like, oh, we're going, what's wrong with her? She's not made any effort. And so, you feel like
trainers are more expensive these days.
Yeah,
Nick, do you ever make any No, to fashion.
I think you could answer that yourself, really. Didn't you?
Those glasses are.
They are.
That's it. That's
They're
the
just
one
a
thing.
flourish.
I know people always say, I know you from this morning because of the glasses. There's
Amazing.
none of my intellect. Just the glasses.
If the wedding outfit isn't sorted, we could get a couple of boots that you could wear.
Well, it'd be for an interesting one, wouldn't it?
I said the going away outfit. They'd be good for.
And they're
Claire
coming
would
back
go away.
quickly.
Claire would run away.
Let's talk about another study, which is quite an interesting one. Because
Scientific.
it comes up regularly amongst my friends, because I have a few friends who are a little bit shorter than the others, whether short man syndrome really exists. Nick?
Yeah, well, this is the new study from an Australian Catholic university. They talked to more than 300 people and they found the key link between height and intrasexual competition. Shorter men are more likely to display envy, jealousy and competitiveness than taller men. So I started life, I think, a little fraction over 6 foot. I'm probably starting to cramp down a little bit now, so I don't really know. It does speak, as you rightly say, there is this stereotype.
Yes.
I don't have that many short friends. I mean,
on purpose?
Well, I don't know that many jockeys or things like that. Are jockeys always angry? I don't know.
I think they designate short by about 5'7".
5'7".
Yeah, the average height of a UK man, 5'9".
5'9".
5'3", yeah, 5'7" as well. This, but this, I read here, this has been going back to the 1920s they first sold this idea.
Do you know, it's interesting,
do you know
though.
short men?
Well, it's interesting in business because obviously I spend a lot of time interviewing business leaders, and there are quite a few men who are short in business who might look big on the telly or whatever, and then, or when they're doing public speeches, and then when you see them in real life, you're like, oh, you're a lot smaller. And I think it is that competitiveness of like, you are underestimating me, and I am going to show you, I'm going to be, because I'm not just the one who all the men or all the women will fancy. I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to have to put more of an effort in. I'm going to, and I'm going to show
more drive and more ambition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I feel like any rock stars or movie stars are always a little bit smaller than you think they're going to be. You know, like take someone like Tom Cruise, he now jumps out of planes, goes on a motor, but like there's a little
You know
bit...
you're on, because I don't think Sakir is 6 foot. I'm certain Boris Johnson isn't actually that tall.
No.
Rishi Sunak was not a tall man.
No,
You
he
met Rishi
wasn't,
Sunak.
yeah.
No.
You've probably got to go back to Lord Cameron as the last PM who was actually a 6 foot, I would imagine. So there may be,
I think there's something in it. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Right, next one is why aren't more women in top jobs?
Yeah, business again, Steph, the worrying
business,
decline.
over to you. The rate of women being hired in UK leadership roles has fallen for the 3rd year in a row.
Yes, I know this is researched by LinkedIn, isn't it? And do you know, I think what it is there's been such a drive to get more women into industry, and I don't think this is necessarily businesses not wanting more people to run companies. I think it's the climate and the fact that when women reach the point at which they're kind of at that senior level, it's when, like, perimenopause kicks in and menopause, and you are getting that brain fog and you are getting anxiety, and you might start to, like, opt out of doing some of the bigger roles because you're worried about what might happen if you get brain fog in a meeting and things like that. And I've talked to a lot of women about this because as, a business journalist, I'm always trying to get more female leaders to talk to me publicly so that you can, other women can go, I want to be like her. And I was with a load of retail execs recently, and there's quite a few women in retail. And I think that's, again, because a lot of them will come from the shop floor and work up to the top. So it's interesting that they don't seem to have a big of a problem with female execs and stuff. But it was interesting talking to them because all the issues are around, like, childcare and how we're all dealing with menopause and what that climate is like in the workplaces. Although we talk a good talk about it, it's still not really, in the business world, you feel like you're showing a weakness if you went into a meeting and you're like, do you know what, I've got brain fog today. I might forget that statistic we need on whatever.
Do you think women are forceful enough in a boardroom setting, a bloke will almost say, oh, yeah, I can do that, because it's sort of the male side.
Yeah.
Do you think... Sorry.
No, there's really good evidence of when a woman sees a job spec, they will not apply if they can't do everything on it.
Right.
A man will apply if they can only do a third of the things on that.
That's a massive difference.
Yeah, so we go, we've got to be able to do all this. They're not going to hire me because I can't do it all.
Don't you think there's also something, though, for when women have babies and then they have to get childcare and they have to find that vast amount of money that they don't ever make it up to the next kind, because it's just not worth it for them.
Yeah, and there are plenty of women as well who are like booking the trend, who are probably screaming at the telly going, actually, I've worked it out all right and I've been able to do it. But we don't hear about them enough and we don't see them enough.
Yeah.
Like, I recently found out that the former boss of one of the biggest retailers in the world, Walmart, former CEO and president, is a woman from my hometown. And I was like, how do I... You know, it's a big American firm. How do I not know about you when I'm a business journalist? And it's because she's just quietly getting on with the job and not, like, constantly on telly talking about it or whatever.
My friends that work in the city are at sort of a certain level. They all talk about the fact there is still a really strong drive to get more female executives, more people on the board, and they talk about that all the time.
But it can't be tokenism. You can't...
No, absolutely. And I think therein comes the issue, is like, has there been a shift where it's like, OK, there's been a big drive and these numbers have dropped.
Yeah.
And now we got to a point where there was more representation. Now it's not just about seeing a woman on the board. Actually, we've got to get the right person for the job. You want the women to be going for and to think, just because they can't do two of the things on the job spec, you can still go for it.
Yes, and it's that thing of, I'm a big believer in, like, championing people in your business, so you should be looking out for who you might think the next leaders are going to be and just support them and start giving them, like, that kind of on-the-job extra training. And as women, we should be looking at who in business we admire and ask them to support us, because it is a team game. There's no one person in a company who's, you know, doing it all on their own. It's always a team. Often you get, like, male CEOs who've got an amazing female executive assistant who's the one who's running the show, really. The guy's the face of it, but it's the woman. You know, if you want to know all the gossip, you ask the PAs. In telly, you ask the makeup artists. But in, you know, in business, it's all the executive assistants and the personal assistants. They're the ones who are, like, running the show. And
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.